Have you ever experienced a glitch in the Matrix? Well, if you have, consider sending it my way. Go to astheravendreams.com and click the button to do so. And of course, thank you. The other day, I had a glitch, or something like a glitch, happen at work, and it was either a really weird and crazy coincidence, or the Matrix duplicated an NPC for me to talk to. I work at a local shop that sells used clothing, kind of like one of those bigger name thrift shops, except we operate locally and we only have the one physical location. Because of this, we get quite a few regulars that come in, and I've gotten to know some of those people. This glitch actually involves one of our regular shoppers, a nice guy named Craig. Craig was a super cool dude. He was one of those super chill skater types, and he was hard to miss. Everything he wore was super loud and really vibrant, and he was always so excited when he came in. I considered him to be a friend at this point because of how much he came in, and how often we had spoken with each other. On the day in question that this weird glitch happened, we ended up with a donation that had about 6 tie-dyed shirts that were super bright colors. One of them was pretty much highlighter pink and yellow, and as soon as I saw them, I thought about Craig, because I knew that he would absolutely love them. I asked my manager if I could set them aside for him, and he was fine with it, so I put them in a bag behind the counter and waited for him to come in. That day, Craig actually came in, and I was super psyched to show him the shirts that had come in. He had a few items in his arms, and he walked up to the register, but something about him was off. He was definitely Craig. Same clothing, same look, same beanie in the middle of summer, but something about him was off. He didn't seem happy. He didn't seem to want to talk or anything like that. He just seemed to want to check out and leave. He handed me a shirt that was blue with a little "This is fine" cartoon dog on it. He paid, and he just left. He barely looked me in the eyes, honestly, and just walked away. I was a bit upset because he seemed to be in such a bad mood, but I let it go and accepted that he was having a bad day, so I would show him the shirts next time he came in. After I finished ringing him up, I needed to use the restroom, so I closed my register and made the quick run to the back. I did what I needed and ran back to my station. Within a couple of minutes, I was standing there waiting for someone to ring up when I see Craig walking towards me. Except this time, he was his normal self. He was a seriously happy guy, and he seemed like he was happy to see me and was super talkative. After a bit of conversation, I went over and grabbed the shirts from the side and showed them to him, and he was super excited, to the point that he wanted all of them. I mentioned to him that I was going to show him when he was in a little bit earlier, but he seemed like he was in a bad mood, and from that he got really confused. He told me that he had not been in earlier. I mentioned that he came in and bought a shirt with the little cartoon dog on it, and he looked shocked. He then handed me the shirt that he was going to buy originally, and sure enough, it was that same shirt. It was the little cartoon dog sitting there on front of the shirt. It had the little speech bubble that said, "This is fine," and it was an identical shirt to the one that he, or I guess the other guy, that I thought was him, bought around 20 or so minutes prior. I wasn't really sure what to say, so I just kind of let it go. He was pretty clearly freaked out by the whole thing, but he's the type to laugh stuff off like this and say, Oh wow, that's really freaky. I have no idea who that first Craig was, though. He responded to me calling him Craig. He said hi like he knew me. He just seemed like he was super depressed and didn't want to talk. But then, the second Craig was super happy and acted like his normal self. I guess that the Matrix glitched and spawned Craig in twice that day, but I'm glad that the normal Craig is the one that kept coming back. When I, 30, female, was around 22, I had been very close to one of my friends. For sake of ease, let's call him Chris. Of course, his name is changed for this story. Chris and I were pretty much besties at this point. We graduated together and hung out almost daily. Chris, over the course of a few months, had developed a problem with substance abuse. K2, Spice, or otherwise fake MJ. He would use it daily. Whilst gaming, he decided that he wanted to do it as usual. I politely declined, and told him that stuff would kill him. And I watched over him as he rode this abuse out. Now, while Chris was in this state of mind, he would get very out of it. In essence, falling asleep standing, nearly collapsing, speaking so incoherently you'd not be able to make out a single word, and the rare but terrifying occasionally stopping breathing. I made sure to watch him until he came down, but I needed to leave. I asked him not to smoke again until I was able to hang around, and of course he agreed but didn't follow through. Roughly 2 hours go by, and I got a phone call from Chris's mother. I felt my heart drop into my stomach and my throat tightened. When I answered, I was told that Chris had a really bad seizure, and they had found him with the pipe still in hand. They guessed that when he stood up to try to get help, he fell and cracked his head on the table that he was sitting at, and he had passed. I dropped everything I was doing right then. I got in my car and I drove to his house. When I got there, there were no signs of any kind that anything was amiss. I went and knocked on the door, noting that his mom's car was gone. When the door opened, my blood ran cold. Chris was standing there, pipe in hand, and he simply asked, "Hey, what's up? I thought you'd be gone the rest of the day." I went in with him, and I explained everything through sobs, and I asked him if he would switch from the synthetic stuff to real. Don't judge me. I knew that he wouldn't flat out quit. He did agree to that. And to this day, I don't know what happened. My phone even still had the call from his mom, even though she swore she never called me. Her phone didn't have any outgoing calls. The logical explanation would be that she was worried and made a really messed up fake call to make me go check on him, but she didn't know that he was using the synthetic stuff. Regardless of if anyone believes this, it is still one of the worst things I have ever felt, and by far one of the strangest glitches I have experienced. I have a few others, but nothing else that's this wild. This just happened earlier today. I was driving to work at around 6:45 a.m. The sun wasn't up yet, but it was glowing behind the mountains. Traffic was heavy that morning, and I was cursing at myself for not leaving a little bit earlier. I had snoozed my alarm twice, since I felt a bit tired from going to bed late the night before. One important note, I was wide awake when this happened, so it can't be chalked up to hallucinations or being sleepy. Also, no history of medication, drugs, or anything else that would alter my mental state. Alright, on to the glitch. The road I was on had a section of trees ahead where it curved and turned twice. I made sure to keep my distance from the car ahead of me, since people often don't brake for the first turn until they were right on top of it. Anyway, I looked down at the clock to see what time it is. I stared down at it for a second because the clock was off by 2 whole hours. It said that it was 4:50 in the morning. Oh well, just something wrong with the clock, I thought. I would need to fix it later. But when my eyes came back up to the road, I noticed it was pitch black outside. The sun was no longer glowing behind the mountains. It damn near looked like midnight out on that rural highway. I looked around in utter confusion. The vehicles ahead of me were gone now, nowhere to be seen. I came up to the turn in the road, swung around it and the upcoming bend, and I got clear of the tree line. Still, no sign of the sun or traffic. I was bewildered. I'd be way too early for work now, so I glanced back down at the clock again, and what do you know? The time changed. 6:55. I again spent a good second eyeballing the clock in total shock. Because of this, I had to hit my brakes to avoid a collision with the vehicle in front of me, the same one that I had been following earlier. The sun had returned as well, glowing behind the mountains. I've been thinking about it all morning at work. What the hell happened? Did I glitch back in time 2 whole hours? I have a bit of a weird story that happened a few weeks ago, and I'm not sure if it was a glitch or if it was something paranormal, but I'm going to say it's a glitch until proven otherwise. I am open to it being paranormal, sure, but there hasn't been anything else that's happened in this house to make me think we have a ghost or anything like that. A bit of background. My husband has been assigned to working overnights for his company for around 6 months. It's not something he wanted to do, and it's not something that we had planned on, but the guy that worked the overnights actually passed away unexpectedly, and they asked my husband if he would do the job until he was replaced. It came with a huge increase in pay, so he took it with the expectation that it would be just a few months, but that's honestly a complaint for somewhere else. The point is that he works overnights, and he comes home around the time the kids are getting up to get ready for school. He typically says good morning to them, sits for a few minutes, and then heads to bed after that. Unfortunately, he's gotten used to the sleep schedule, and he can't really turn it off on his days where he doesn't have to work, which I completely understand. On this particular day, he was off, and he had actually gone to bed a bit before the kids were up. He had come home from the normal time from the night before's shift, and told me that he was beyond exhausted, and that he was just going to head to bed. I told him I would let the girls know, we said goodnight, and that was that. I finished getting ready for my day, and by the time I went to leave the bathroom and head out of our bedroom, he had been asleep for at least 45 minutes. I could hear him snoring for pretty much the whole time. I leave to go get the girls up at this point, and, much to my surprise, they were already up and getting breakfast in the kitchen. The two of them don't usually get up on their own. They're both really heavy sleepers like their dad, and I mentioned to them that I was surprised that they were awake already. My oldest then says that their dad had come in and woken them up. I was a slight bit confused because he got home almost an hour before they needed to be awake, and there would be no reason for him to do so. Plus, He told me to tell them that he loved them and that he was sorry he wasn't awake to say good morning to them. At first, I thought that maybe he had just somehow forgotten that he woke them up, but again, why would he do so an hour earlier than necessary? I asked when he woke them up, and she tells me that it was about 10 minutes ago. I responded that that wasn't possible, as he'd been asleep for nearly the entire hour. The two of them both looked at me confused and told me that he had definitely opened their door and told them that it was time to get up 10 minutes ago. They said that he opened the door, flicked on the light, and said, "Hey girls, it's time to get up." And when my oldest looked at her clock, it was 10 minutes before that moment. They both mentioned that they hadn't actually seen him, only heard him and saw the light when it clicked on. I really didn't know what to say. I didn't want to scare them or anything like that, so I just accepted what she said and moved on, because it was kind of weird. My husband was somehow in two places at once. He was passed out completely in our bed, and he had somehow woken the girls up. I heard him snoring the whole time I was getting ready in the attached bathroom. I could see the bed from the doorway. I know for a fact that he was in bed the entire time. The only logical explanation that I could think of was that maybe he had woken them up when he got home, but I really don't know why he would have done that. If that was the case, the clock would have shown a time way earlier than 10 minutes before they had to get up. I don't think my girls are lying. They're both really well behaved and don't lie about trivial things like that. I did mention it to him, and he said that he didn't remember waking them up, but that he was also super tired, so if he did, it may have just been something that he wiped from his memory. As I mentioned, this is either a glitch or a ghost, but I'm leaning toward a weird glitch, because it was something that likely would have happened if he had been up, but in this timeline, he decided not to stay awake. So, something in the Matrix definitely broke that morning. Okay, this happened quite a few years ago. I read the flowchart, and it's appropriate to post here, but just to confirm, I was over 18, not under the influence of anything, wasn't tired, etc. I had been living across the country, and had just moved back to my hometown. I was going to rent a room from a couple, but they ended up being creepy and inappropriate. And to give me time to figure out where I was going to live, I stayed with family and friends. It was fall, and they wanted to take me to do something fun, so we went to this place called Apple Hill. It's a few hours away from where we live. We stayed overnight at a hotel. I had brought a gold set of MAC makeup brushes that my aunt had given me. When we got back home, I realized I couldn't find one of the brushes. I checked my bag and the floor of the truck that we drove in super well. I assumed it must have fallen out of the truck somehow, or rolled away in the hotel room, even though we looked under the bed when we left, something my paranoid mom taught me to do. I was bummed, but I moved on. Fast forward 8 months. In that time, I had moved back east because I couldn't find anywhere to stay after the weird roommate situation, and I couldn't stay with our family friends long term. Then I found a good roommate and moved back again. The reason I mention all of this is because I did not find or have my lost makeup brush in that time. Keep in mind that my makeup bag was very small and I would have seen it. I had just moved into my new apartment. I was 20 and hadn't acquired many things yet. I had zero furniture, not even a bed frame yet. My room literally just had a mattress. So, one afternoon, I was lying on the floor on my stomach, just messing around on my laptop. I was looking at social media, Pinterest, etc. I got up at some point to go to the bathroom, and when I stood up, I saw the missing makeup brush just lying there in the spot that I had been laying. I was shocked and felt kind of insane. It was not there when I laid down. My floor was spotless, so there was nothing that it could have been hiding in or under. I wasn't wearing anything with pockets that it could have fallen out of. I also didn't feel a lump or anything underneath me when I was laying there. There is zero possible explanations. Anyways, it was such a weird and random glitch to have happen. It drives me nuts to think that I'll probably never understand how or why it happened. I have a thing that happened when I was a kid that some people may not consider a glitch, but it was really weird, and it definitely seems like it was, in fact, a glitch in reality. Something happened and I cannot explain it, so I'm submitting it, and if you think it's a glitch or glitch-worthy, then you're free to use it. This happened back when I was 8 years old, and it was during the summer, so I was out of school and had a lot of time to do whatever I wanted to do. My dad stayed home during the summer while my mom worked, and he typically had the late shift. So he would go in when she was getting home. That way, somebody was always there to watch me. On the day that this happened, my dad was asleep pretty late in the day, and I had gotten up pretty early and had jumped straight on to my Nintendo 64. I wasn't supposed to spend the whole day playing it, but no one was really watching me closely, so I decided that I was going to play it until my dad got up, and then figure out something else to do. Like I mentioned, I had been up pretty early and my dad was going to sleep until noon at the latest, so I had a few hours. I put in Glover and was playing through the levels, and when I looked over at the clock, I noticed that it was already noon. I decided to just go ahead and shut it off just in case my dad did get up, and then went and made myself a sandwich. After eating it, I was sitting there watching TV, just kind of waiting for my dad to get up, and getting bored with watching daytime television. After about 20 or so minutes, I started dozing off and decided that I wanted to take a nap, so I put my head down on the couch and dozed off. This is where things ended on my side, because I was obviously asleep. When I finally woke up, I got off the couch and walked into the kitchen and was surprised to see my mom at the table on the phone. I didn't realize that my nap had been so long that she had gotten home. She hung up the phone while staring at me like she was confused as soon as she saw me. I said hi and asked her what was wrong, and she started asking me where I was, what I'd been doing, and several other questions. I told her that I was asleep on the couch, and she said that that was impossible, and told me that I needed to tell her where I was. I kept telling her the same thing, that I was sleeping on the couch, because it was the truth. That's where I had been the whole time. To keep this story fairly short and explain what happened, my dad woke up, and when he did, he couldn't find me. He looked throughout the house, and I was apparently nowhere to be found. He said that he looked in my bedroom, the living room, upstairs, and even in the basement, and he could not find me. He then called my friends that lived on my street to see if I had gone to their houses, and obviously I wasn't there. He called my mom and told her that I was seemingly missing, and she rushed home from work. When she saw me just walk into the kitchen like nothing had occurred, she was shocked. She had also checked all the rooms of the house, the yard, the shed, everything, and she had no idea where I was. It was the weirdest thing because they were within minutes of calling the police and reporting me as missing, but the whole time I was asleep on the couch in the next room. I wasn't covered up, I wasn't wearing something that would cause me to camouflage, and the room wasn't dark. Neither of my parents could find me, and I was right there. It was almost as if I just didn't exist. Now, I guess it's possible that they both could have somehow overlooked me on the couch, but it would be really weird to think that two adults could just not see a kid lying on the couch in the middle of a living room for multiple hours, to the point that they were about to call the police. It almost seemed like I just disappeared from existence for a few hours, and then came back whenever I woke up. Okay, so this literally just happened. I was cooking a pizza in the oven and sitting in the chair that I always sit in watching YouTube. I get up to take the pizza out and cut it, grab a Coke, and I go sit down at the table. When I get ready to sit down, I reach for my AirPods case, which is always kept in my left pocket, to prop my phone up against to watch YouTube. But it's not there. Side note, I'm wearing a pair of pants that have shallow pockets, so things falling out of them is not really uncommon. Also, I was wearing the AirPods the whole time. So, I go back to the chair that I was just sitting in to check to see if the case had fallen out of my pocket and into the crack between the cushions. I checked the chair and put my hand down the side to see if my case was there. It wasn't. I was actually quite hungry, so I decided to just use a towel to prop my phone up with while I eat, and to look for my case later. After eating my food, I do a thorough check of my living room and the kitchen, and find nothing. I even checked the chair again, this time taking the cushions completely off. Nothing. I figured it must have fallen out of my pocket while sitting upstairs on the couch, as this has happened before. So I go to check upstairs. Nothing. But something weird did happen. My second cat came upstairs while I was doing this, and she almost never comes upstairs. My other cat was already sleeping up there, probably completely unrelated, but I did find it odd. I relented, and I decided to stop looking and try again later, thinking that I may remember something that I had forgotten. I go to sit back down in the chair, but before I do, I decided to check under the cushions one more time. And my AirPods case was there. It was in a spot that I could not have possibly missed the first time I checked under the cushions. This has genuinely spooked me. Has anyone else experienced anything like this? The other day, my husband went to get a new goldfish to join our tank. He ended up getting two. Translation problem, we live in Vietnam. 2 black Moors to join Frank, the other black Moor, and Hot Dog, the catfish. I saw 2 in the bag and was surprised. I asked him why he decided to get 2, and he said the lady misunderstood him. So we put the bag with 2 goldfish in the tank and let the water temperature acclimate. A little while later, we opened it up and 1 goldfish swam out. Paranoid, we searched the filter system, the ground, and surface surrounding the tank, even though the bag was partially submerged when we opened it, and nothing. And Hot Dog, greedy bastard though he is much too small to swallow an entire black Moor whole. I tried to rationalize it as the folds in the plastic bag containing the fish made us see double, but we had both clearly seen them swimming in different manners and directions. It's been about a week, and we definitely have 2, not 3, goldfish. Just a few nights later, I'm making a late-night snack for my husband. I take out exactly 3 pieces of bacon, thinking they'll perfectly fit the bacon cheese jalapeno melt that is the end goal. I specifically remember the number of pieces, as they were intentionally planned to fit the sandwich. I turn away to butter the bread for the sandwich, and when I look back, there are 2 rashers of bacon. The husband's playing Elden Ring, boss fight online, so I know he's not sneaking half-cooked pieces of bacon from the pan in the kitchen. Plus, he only likes extra crispy bacon. Are we both going mad? Do we have a hungry poltergeist? My gran always said things happen in 3s, so I'm just waiting for a fried egg or cup of tea, or one of my piano keys to disappear now. I had nice tweezers, like the ones with super sharp blades on the ends. I only ever had the one like that. It didn't come in a pack with multiple sizes or different kinds. Well, I have a very, very small bathroom, and one day a few months ago, I dropped the tweezers in the toilet. They were definitely inside the toilet bowl, in the water. I looked at them and was bummed that they were the toilet's tweezers now. I wasn't about to stick my hand in the toilet for tweezers, no matter how good those tweezers were, so I just flushed them. They definitely flushed down, never to be seen again, or so I thought. About a month later, I was in the kitchen and the exact same tweezers were sitting on the kitchen counter. I asked my partner if maybe they bought another pair, or even if they came back into the toilet bowl after the flush and they grabbed them and washed them, but they said no, and that they didn't even know they were there. It's only us 2 here, so it would have had to have been one of us. Whatever. I was stoked because those tweezers were my favorite. Fast forward to like 2 to 3 months later, and the tweezers were sitting on my coffee table because I used them all the time. Then, one day, they were just gone again. I moved every single thing off of that table. I looked under the table, under the couch with the flashlight, even in my purse and pockets, just to make sure that I didn't accidentally take them anywhere. Nope, they are gone again. Is it a glitch? Helpful monster that lives in the toilet? A portal in my house? I could see losing them off of the coffee table or accidentally throwing them away or something. Tweezers are small. They're easy to overlook or pick up accidentally with something else and throw them away, but flushing them down the toilet only for them to end up on my kitchen counter? That's weird. I work in the industrial district of my city. It's one way in and one way out, so we call it the island. There's a single convenience store, and last night I stopped by as I usually do after work. There were no cars, but at least 20 or so tourists. I see this often, but I saw no bus this time. As I got my stuff and got in line, I began getting looks from all of them, like I was out of place. I just kept to myself and stood in line. A minute later, a couple of ladies from the group came and stood in line right next to me. Not slightly behind me by any means, directly next to me. The line moved forward, we moved forward, we got to the register, we put our stuff down. I'm just flat out confused, but the cashier only rang me up for my stuff. As I left, a group of them were walking directly towards my car. At this point, I'm getting nervous. As I walk closer to my car, the group is almost intentionally walking to it. Then, One guy stops about 2 feet from the driver's door and just stands there. I shuffle between him to open my door, and the guy looks at me and asked me a question in a language that I did not understand. I just silently got in my car and started it. I took one last glance over, and about 6 of them were all standing a few feet from my car in a line with blank stares. I drove off and felt like I was in a dream for most of the ride home. At first I thought it was a cultural thing inside the store where the bigger the group, the tighter the line or something, but the car experience still has me a little freaked out. I lost my beloved high school class ring several years ago at work. When I noticed, I tore apart my desk, my purse, my clothes, my pockets, my car, and my house. I even combed through the office on multiple floors. I asked my manager, coworkers, and my housekeeping staff to keep an eye out for it. At home, I decided to wash my purse and search the washer and dryer to see if laundering the bag would somehow shake it out. Nothing in the washer or dryer, and nothing in the purse. Weeks go by, and I'm devastated, as my dad bought me that ring and helped me to customize it. I was so upset. Eventually, I accepted that it probably slipped off my finger outside due to the cold weather, and was most likely gone forever. I even started looking into jewelers who could potentially recreate it for me. A couple of months later, my purse is sitting inside my desk drawer at work. I take it out to go on lunch and reach inside to grab my phone, and the ring is sitting right there on my phone. It was definitely my ring, in the same condition that I knew it to be. My full name is engraved on it, along with all the customizations that Dad and I picked out when I was in high school. I was absolutely blown away. I wondered if maybe someone found it around the office and chose to return it anonymously by dropping it in my purse, no questions asked. The only problem is that my purse was locked up inside my desk drawer, and I was the only one with the key. I was overjoyed to have my beloved ring back, but still completely baffled. How could it vanish for months and then just show up one day in plain sight? I still think about it to this day, and it gives me the creeps. So that was this week's second Glitch in the Matrix video. There will not be a third this week, don't worry. But there are 2 this week, and there may be more next week. I mean, Monday, obviously, but... No, wait, not Monday. Monday is Halloween. Halloween will be paranormal stories next week, so don't freak out about that. Glitch will be on Tuesdays. Anyways, that was the second Glitch in the Matrix story. The third video of our Halloween extravaganza 2022... or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to call it. That's what I'm calling it, I guess. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed this collection of stories. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button. And if you're new to the channel and liked what you heard, consider subscribing. You can also hit join down below for memberships. Go to my Patreon for early access, both those memberships and Patreon for early access. Or you can do the thanks button, which is basically leaving me a nice little tip, if you so choose. Never expected, always appreciated. Now, let's move on to the... No, wait, that's not going to happen this video. That was on Monday. It's really weird to do a glitch outro and just be like, nope, no word of the week, sorry. So it's just a basic outro for today's glitch video. I'm sorry. But anyway, yeah. Hopefully you all are having a beautiful week. Beautiful week? You're having a great week. Hopefully you're all having a great week. And hopefully you're all still on board with the rest of the week being a ton of new content, because I am. I'm working my butt off for y'all, so, you know, yeah. Anyways, I will see you all in the next video. I'm not gonna stretch this out. I'll see you all in the next video, my friends, which will be 4 video number 4, so. And of course, until I do see you again, please, sleep well.